Welcome back, Garden Ambassadors, to another episode of The Living Classroom, where we teach you how to create your own vegetable garden and bring the supermarket into your backyard. Because some of us, like myself, we're trapped in isolation. But never fear, we're going to teach you how to start your own garden from the ground up. And what did we learn about last lesson? Well, we learned about the sun and the land. And a lot of you parents showed me photos of your kids watching that lesson, which warmed my heart to no end. And then some of the garden ambassadors sent me photos of the map that they drew. So let's have a look at some of those maps. First, we've got Ari and Zoran. So those two have drawn some incredible pictures of their garden. You can see they've got a chook pen, a vegetable garden. What else have they got in there? In the middle, they've got a skate ramp. How cool is that? You could be skating amongst the eggplants, the tomato plants, but hopefully not the face plants. And you can see that they've got the sunrise and the sunset in their picture. Awesome work, guys. I can't wait to see the next drawing. Okay, who do we have next? Hugo and Alira. They've drawn a really colorful picture of their garden. I can see butterflies, I can see flowers, I can see a little compost area where they're gonna start making their own soil. Well done, guys. That picture is so cool, I love it. And last but not least, we have Sophie. Sophie has drawn an amazing picture of her garden where you walk out onto the deck and you instantly have some plants there. Got a beautiful lawn area, and then at the back she's got a compost pile and a pumpkin patch. But look at that, she's even got a matching cheetah outfit to go with it. I think she's channeling her inner spirit animal. Awesome work, guys. If any of you would like to send in your photos to the Living Classroom, you can send them to us through Facebook or Instagram, or you can send them on our email. Just make sure you get your parents to do it. Okay. So what are we going to learn about today? Well, we're going to learn about the water and the wind. All right, so where does the water come from? Don't say the tap. Well, the water comes from the rain. Where does the rain go? Well, the rain goes down the hills, into the valleys, then into the creek, and then all the creeks come into a river, and then the river might go into a lake, and then from the lake it might go down another river and then out into the ocean. But then how does the water get from the ocean up into the sky again to then turn into rain? Well, it gets up there through evaporation, where the sun heats up the water and all of that water turns into a gas, like steam, goes up into the sky, forms a cloud. The cloud gets really heavy and then drops all the rain again. And then the whole cycle starts all over again. And that is called the water cycle. But that gets me thinking, if that happens with the ocean and the coast gets a lot of rain, how do we get rain out where there's no coast, where there's no ocean, like out in the middle of Australia, near the desert? Well, a very special thing happens. There's an evaporation, like the ocean, but this one comes from the trees. Now, I'm sweating a little bit, which means that all this water is coming out of my body and then going out into the atmosphere. Did you know that trees sweat too? Trees sweat too, and then all that water that comes out of the trees goes up into the sky, and that's called evapotranspiration. So it's like evaporation, but they're transpiring, which is another word for sweating, like I am right now. Therefore, trees create rain. I wonder how much fresh water there is in the world. Let's go find out. So how much fresh water is there for us to drink? Well, here we have a little demonstration. We've got 1 liter of water. We've got a little pipette that can squirt out 10 drops, a measuring cup, and some salt. So we have 1 liter of water. How many milliliters is in 1 liter? That's right, 1,000. We're going to pretend that this 1 liter of water has all the water in the world in it. The water underground, the water in the oceans, the waters in the lakes and the rivers and the snowfields and glaciers, and even the atmosphere. It's all in here. Now, how much of that water there do you think is fresh water? I'm going to get a little pipette out. The answer is 30 drops. Only 3% of all the water in the world is fresh water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. 30 drops. That's all that there is in the world of fresh water. Now, what type of water do you think that is? If it's from the ocean, that means it's now salt water. Can we drink salt water? No, we can't. That would hurt our kidneys very, very much. But look how much salt water there is. And look how much fresh water there is. Do you know how much fresh water we can actually drink? Because, put that to the side. Very little amount of fresh water there. And unfortunately, a lot of that fresh water is in the ice, is in the atmosphere, and is underground, and we don't have access to it. So there's only a small percentage of this that we can actually drink and that we can actually give to our plants to drink. How much do you think of this we can drink? It's actually 1% of this tiny little bit here. So, of all the water in the world, we can only drink that much. That is not a lot at all. My mind is blown. That is not much water at all. We need to catch every single drop of rain that comes onto our property. But how do we do that? Well, the rain comes down and lands on the roof. And then from the roof, it goes down into the gutters. And then from the gutters, it goes down the drain. And from the drain, it goes into the sewer or into the stormwater drain. And then from the stormwater sewer, it goes out to the ocean. We're just losing all of that fresh water. But I've got an idea. Your first Garden Ambassador challenge for this lesson is to walk around your house and find every drain pipe. Because what we're going to do is, think about this, we're going to find every drain pipe because that's where all the fresh water's going down and that's the water we want to keep. And we're going to find the best place to put a water tank or a big drum or a big bucket or a little bucket and even in a coffee cup. But how do we know where the best place for a water tank is? Well, let's think of it this way. If the water tank fills up, when it gets to the top, it's going to overflow. If it overflows, we could have it to go down the drain and then it goes out into the ocean and we lose it again. Or maybe we can have it so it overflows into our garden. So what I want you to do is find all the drain pipes, find the best place to put a water tank, and then think about where the water tank is going to overflow into, because we want it to overflow into our garden. Okay, so let's talk about the wind. The wind is so important. It can cool us down on a really, really hot afternoon. It can generate electricity through windmills and turbines. But too much wind, and it can actually cause some damage. It can blow away our seedlings and break all their little leaves. Or a really strong wind or a hurricane or a cyclone can break tree branches. So it's a very, very powerful force within our garden. But how does it do that? I mean, what is the wind? Well, it's air that's moving. But how does it move? Well, there's two different types of air, hot air and cold air. Hot air rises, cold air falls. You see, when the sun rises, it heats everything up. The trees, the land, the ocean, and the air. And we know that hot air rises. It'll rise up and it will leave a little pocket of space behind, but we'll get back to that. Leaves a big pocket, and then the hot air rises up to the atmosphere where there's planes and hang gliders all up there. And then when it gets to the top, it starts to cool down. And when it cools down, it gets cold and then starts to fall. The interesting thing about cold air is it likes to chase hot air, and it will rush and create wind to fill the pocket that the hot air left behind. And it fills that pocket, and then guess what? It heats back up again. And now we have a wind cycle. And there are wind cycles all over the world. Even in your garden, there's a wind cycle happening above you. And that is called the prevailing wind. Now, your second Garden Ambassador Challenge is to go out into your garden on a windy day. And I want you to put your arms out like this. And I want you to feel for the direction that the wind is coming. And that is going to be your prevailing wind. Now, you might be asking, why are we going to do that? Well, we want to protect all of our vegetables that are growing in our garden. And what we can do is, once we find out where the wind always comes from, we can start planting bigger trees, maybe even put a little trellis up, even some small bamboo, to try and block that wind from coming into our garden. So the wind will come in, go through the trees, and on the other side will turn into a gentle breeze. So we want to find out where the wind is coming from so we can protect our little vegetables. And it's your job to go out into the garden, find the direction that it's coming from, and then draw it on your map. Okay, Garden Ambassadors, let's do a recap. First, we learnt about the water cycle and evaporation and evapotranspiration from the trees, because the trees can create rain clouds. Plant more trees. We also learnt how we can capture that rainwater. Then we learned about the wind cycles and prevailing winds and what we can do to try and prevent our garden from getting damaged. So your Garden Ambassador Challenge is to find all the drain pipes so you know where the water's going, find out where the best place for a water tank is, then go outside and try and find the direction of the wind, because the wind, the water, the land, and the sun are the most powerful forces in our garden. And next episode, we're going to put them all together to find the perfect place for our garden. So, get drawing, guys, and get your parents to send us some photos of your awesome drawings and your awesome garden. We can show them next episode. Okay, guys, can't wait to see ya. Cheerio!